Welcome to Wildlife Outdoors with your host, Russell and Jose. If you have a passion for conservation of the outdoors, or you're enjoying a calming hike in the mountains, an exhilarating kayak trip on the river, feeling a fish on the end of your line, cooking on an open flame in a primitive campsite, or stalking big game, just waiting for the perfect shot, you're in the right place. So put on your boots and polarized sunglasses and come along for the ride.
Welcome back to another episode of Wildlife Outdoors. Today, we are going to be celebrating Veterans Day by exploring how the Armed Forces Initiative of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers help service members find purpose, community, and healing on public lands. So help us welcome Cody Fongemie and Dustin Spillman. How y'all doing today?
Doing real well. How are you?
Well, thanks for having us on here.
Of course. I'm excited for this episode. So we've had Sean McCarthy on and Rafael Vargas on. And so we talked a little bit about BHA, AFI with their episode. And I felt like that episode ended so quickly because there's just so much to talk about. There's a lot of intricacies and things that y'all do and events that y'all hold. And I feel like every member of AFI, whether they're in leadership or not, just has a passion that comes out differently. And so I'm excited to have more of y'all on and just talk about it. And it's even more fitting because this episode is going to come out right before Veterans Day. So I'm excited to dig into more conversations based around that.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time with them. They're solid dudes. Love working with them. And that's honestly one of the best things about AFI is the folks we get to meet, no matter if it's someone who shows up to one of our events for one day or someone we like. Dustin and I talk very, very often, almost every other day in a busy week. And it's great. Just the people at the end of the day we get to work with. It's awesome. And then getting to meet folks like you guys. It's just one of the cool things about being involved with AFI.
That's awesome. So I guess before we get into more of the AFI stuff, I guess if you each could give a little bit of your background, where you come from, how you got affiliated with AFI, and we just love to learn more about you.
How far back you want me to go?
Go back as far as you feel comfortable.
Oh, man. So let's see my background. So I was born in Southeast Kansas. Grew up in a bird hunting family. Back then, Kansas was a draw for deer only kind of state. There was no over-the-counter tags. My dad and my granddad, they were big pheasant, quail, dove hunters. So they were the ones that initially kind of fueled my passion. Fast forward a few years through life, we moved around, finally end up settling in Texas. It's where I spent the majority of my life up until I joined the Navy, which actually, it was funny. I thought about this the other day. I joined the Navy on the same day that the USS Cole was bombed. Like, I remember driving to the airport to leave for boot camp, and they're talking about it on the radio. I'm like, shoot, I just kind of got real. And
Wow.
it set the tone for, the next 12 years of my life on active duty. Volunteered for the submarine service, ended up spending a little bit of time in Connecticut, up there in Cody's neck of the woods. Submarine school and everything, and then ended up getting stationed out in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And the bad thing about the submarine community, and well, it's kind of the good thing too, I guess, is it's a very fluid schedule. So, like the Army can normally kind of plan life around deployments. Not us. Like, we may be in for a while, and then it's like, hey, we're going out for a few weeks, then home, and then back and forth and back and forth. So it kind of it didn't allow for a lot of outdoor activities. I had to take a long hiatus from hunting. And then actually it ended up being meeting the lady that would later become my wife. Married her and kind of married into an elk hunting family. And, once the I do's were said and, they realized I was there to stay, they're, like, all right, come on in. We'll teach you the rules. And get you going and all that stuff. And man, that really just kind of fueled my passion. And
That's awesome.
one of the great advantages of living in Washington and being a resident there is just the huge amounts of public land that are available for hunting, fishing, recreating. So, we did all of our hunting on public land up there. I can't say we were super successful, but we always had a really good time and met some really good people, and people that obviously they're still my family and people that I consider family now. And then that's actually what led me to the Armed Forces Initiative. Was one of those individuals that I didn't exactly serve with, but we kind of served adjacent to each other. Like I would be at a command and I would leave, and like 3 months later, he would show up there. And then just a random meeting at one of the Northwest Mountain Challenges. And then I ran into him in my office. And next thing you know, we're hanging out in an elk camp together. And fast forward a few years, he ends up taking the liaison position for Washington State with the Armed Forces Initiative. And, call him up one day. What have you been up to? And 40 minutes later, after he tells me all about the Armed Forces Initiative program, I'm like, that's where I want to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably like the most organic way that I've heard of people. I mean, just by chance, just by luck, and then look at y'all now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And to be honest, I had been a member of BHA since for about 5 years at that point, but I was just one of those members. Like, okay, I pay my dues, and I read the newsletter and all of that stuff, but I wasn't really active within it. This kind of jump started that and made me become very active. So I started out assisting with the Washington program there with Armed Forces Initiative. And excuse me, after I ended up retiring and moved back to the Midwest, the opportunity came open to serve on the national board, and that's where I've been hanging out for the last about year and a half now, and I love it. It's amazing. Like Cody was saying, I've literally met some of the very best people in this country in this program, and I've never stood in the same room as Cody, but I genuinely consider him one of my very best friends. I know that I can pick up the phone at any time, call him, hey, I need your help with this or whatever. He's going to help me out. And I know he's not going to let me down.
That's the best thing about this program, but is you get to meet some really cool people. And that's one thing, like, so rewind a bit. I think like a lot of people in my generation, like the tail end of us millennials, that I didn't come from a hunting family at all. No one in my family hunted or fished. No one did any of that. But I was a huge history nerd as a kid, and I really liked like Lewis and Clark and like Western Expansion, Davy Crockett. And I always saw Teddy Roosevelt. I always thought that stuff was really cool. And then when I got out of college, I did a little bit of fly fishing. A few friends took me out. In college, I went down to college in Myrtle Beach. It's coastal Carolina there. It was really cool to get to experience life on the marsh, all that. And then I said, you know what? I see all this hunting stuff online. I want to get involved. So I got my bow, tuned it up, and was getting ready to do my first season. That's when I got really bored with life, and I joined the Air Guard in Massachusetts. I live in Connecticut, but I joined the Mass unit because they have more opportunities, more openings. And I went to basic training on my tech school. I came back. My buddy, who is also a BHA member, not an AFI guy, but a regular BHA guy, mentioned BHA to me. I joined up. He said a stand up for me, and then I was off. Self-teaching myself everything: archery, waterfowl, fly fishing, all the stuff that, I just loved being outdoors. I love constantly learning. And then I saw AFI get posted about, and I was lucky enough to be there very much in the early days when no one really knew what the program was going to look like. And then, as the program got to the eastern seaboard, we went to They had a duck camp up in Newburyport, Massachusetts, which to you, duck hunting in like a great marsh outside of Boston never pops in anyone's head, because you hear Boston You think muddy water, you think the Red Sox, and you think a bunch of guys yelling at you on the
Mhm.
street. You don't think duck hunting and some of the best, one of the best parts of the Atlantic Flyway with some of the best, sea duck populations around. And through that, we started the New England area of AFI, and it was really cool because I got to meet Raphael, who we joke among AFI. Raph and I are glued to the hip, but we couldn't be more different. Like me and Dustin. So Raph is a Naval Academy educated nuclear submarine officer. I'm an Air Force cop enlisted. Dustin is a submariner. Sean's a submariner. You see the repeating thing here. And
Yeah.
I'm a Air Force dude. I never would have met these guys in a million years. And I've now met them, and we have become collectively such great friends. Like, I've never met Dustin. We have never been in the same room together. I talk to Dustin all the time. Raph and I had never met, but we talked. I would make this joke that I would talk to Raph more than my wife some weeks. It's not. It could be about anything. And through that, all of us working together, the people I've met through New England and other BHA members, you just get a really good expansion of your community, which is really important for those of us who serve. Because I'm still I'm active duty, but the guys who get out, and I've seen this through a few friends, when they get out, they have a tough time adjusting to things outside of that. And having the community like AFI that they can get absorbed into is really special. Guys who've been away from it, they come into it, they get really involved. There were guys like me who, um, the stressors of the job, like we have all our jobs, but like I had a commander that would just every day it would be like he would just come in and like unload on me to do certain things. I never really got it.
Mhm.
But Raph, who was an officer, could every day I would call Raph and talk to him through that, and he would give me a completely different opinion, and then we just would work through all the things that happen in life together. So that's been one of the really cool things about AFI.
That's awesome. So it's not just about, outdoor recreation for you. It's more about a community. And I can see how that would be for people that have gotten out and are having a hard time assimilating back to civilian life, on just having people that you share something in common with, whether it be you were in the same branch, or you have the same, interests, whether it be hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, utilizing public lands, anything like that. So I can see how that could be a major benefit to somebody that is either active duty and or has gotten out. So
Yeah, and we've all been through the same suck together. It may be different, but
mhm.
like we all have this type 2 fun, we call it,
Yeah.
like, and that's what makes doing like hunts, like sitting when it's snowing in the marsh outside of like it's cold, you're wet, you bought your waders popped a hole, like that sucks. But
Yeah.
you're having fun because you're with a bunch of folks who you just for some reason kind of vibe with. And it's something really cool. I've gotten to see before I joined the service, I worked in politics and I got to travel all around the country. And I got to see a whole lot of different types of folks. And there's something really special about our AFI community. And adjacent to that, our BHA community, like our friends we meet who are regular BHA members, just by the connections of their organization. And it's really cool.
Mhm. That's awesome. So can y'all talk a little bit about AFI's mission and like what y'all are trying to accomplish through the outdoors for veterans?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mission of AFI, the posted mission, is, and I'll explain this obviously in detail. The posted mission is, making, turning military members into conservationists, getting them involved in and excited about the public lands and public waters that they raised their right hand and swore to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right?
Mhm.
And it's a great mission. For me personally, I think it's more about making a difference in somebody's life. I think it's about connecting with that one service member that maybe is in a dark place and maybe just needs a friend, maybe needs somebody to listen to, needs that person that has a similar experience. Like Cody said, his military experience is vastly different than mine, but we've both been in the same suck. His flavor was vanilla and mine was strawberry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it as, yeah, we're turning military members into conservationists. We're getting them excited for public lands, but at the same time, I think we're honestly saving lives.
And we are. Like, we've had through the camps we've done, camps, whether that be a dual skills camp, which is an event when we bring folks out and we and we teach them how to do something like, this is how you fly fish. On this day, we're going to teach you about this is how you pick a fly, this is how you cast, and the next day we're going to go apply that. If someone attends a camp like that, or even comes out to something like one of our trash pickups, we've had 77. It's probably over that now, but last time I saw the number, on 77 folks who have reached out to us and said, hey, I was on the path to do something really bad in my life. And by coming to an AFI event and getting involved with, this activity and the folks there, it kind of helped me keep pushing on. And, you talk about, like Justin talked, you talk about the path to a conservationist, right? First, you got to get involved. Then you got to see that you have to understand the value of the resource, and then you'll down the road advocate for it. Well, nothing gets folks more involved than feeling like they belong in that place. And that's so like forming these conservationists is a great bonus to giving folks something, an activity to look forward to, and a community that, quite frankly, they can rely on. Like, I know if I really needed something, I say, hey, Dustin, I need you to drive to 40 plus hours to come over to Connecticut. I know you would do it. And I don't know really, like, the fraternity I was in college, none of those guys are going to do that.
Yeah.
You're paying the gas though, buddy.
Yeah.
So regarding AFI, I was just wondering like how that came to be. Like how did it start, and then how did it get to what it is today?
Yeah. So about 5 years ago now, BHA took a really solid look at their membership, and they realized like 20% or so of people were either active duty, veteran, or Gold Star families. So just Gold Star families are family members of who we have lost in the service of our country. So they looked at that and like, cool, this is something here. Now, they recognized that one, we needed our community, our military community is very, you may think that everyone like hunts and fishes, but we don't. But we're very geared towards those harder activities, and hunting and angling are hard activities. They're awesome activity, but they require a bit of skill and learning. And then they also realized they're like, hey, this could be a part of a community we could tap into that has a unique stake in our public lands and waters, but also could have a really positive impact on the greater work of conservations. We have a lot of skills that, some of our civilian counterparts don't have. One of those skills, like we keep talking about embracing the suck. Well, one of the it's hard to get folks to come out and volunteer to go like hike up a mountain with packs on to rebuild, to do a cleanup at a mountaintop pond. But here's the thing: a lot of us, not my naval counterparts, but a lot of us have worn, carry 60, 70 pounds in our bag at distance at a speed, and we'll gladly go do that if it's for a good cause. So they realized that. And so they went up, they established the Armed Forces Initiative and slowly started building the organization. And over the past few years, and I think we've really come into our stride here about the past 3 years. We've had some really solid leadership across the board. Sean and Raph have been an incredibly effective team as chairs. And we got just some really squared away. Trevor Hubbs was one of our first coordinator, and he did a really good job of expanding our programs. He's now over at the Mule Deer Foundation. But we just had a lot of good folks come on board and push it and start building the community. It became very simple. Like once you super motivated person, once they get heard about our program and they started doing events, it easily attracted more folks, and that helped us grow. We're in almost every state now. We have had a presence in them. I have about 13 states in the East. Dustin's got something similar, about 15 or 16, I think. 22. And then we don't have one in Alaska. We have one in Alaska. We don't have one in Hawaii. Nothing in Puerto Rico, but we have the touch. We have little clusters of really active areas. North Carolina makes sense, high military population. The Western states make sense. Public land and that type of hunting's more available there. And then New England. Those are like our true hotspots, though. So that's kind of how the program came together. That's how the program is doing now. And what we're trying to do last year, we put on 130 ish events across the country. And these events could be something as we're going to go here and we're going to clean up this river. We're going to do a pint night where we're going to, bring some folks together and, talk about this issue and maybe raise some money to keep doing the good work we're doing. Or we're going to do something like, we're on the anniversary of last year, myself, Sean, Raph, Hubs, and a bunch of other guys. We were in Wyoming between Sheridan and Gillette going after pronghorns and mule deer a year ago today. And that was our priority landscape event for that year, which we can talk about in a little, but like we all came across the country. Raph and I took the 38-hour drive in his Tacoma. That's essentially his spaceship, from Connecticut to Wyoming. And we hunted all week. We have a great film on our YouTube when you can, follow us on that hunt. And we had it was the first camp. Everybody except Raph got something, but Raph draw 2 white-tailed doe tags in Wyoming. So it was an uphill battle. But we do these types of events, like small scale to large scale. The New England duck camp is 20 plus people on 4 to 5 boats over 30, 40 miles of water and marsh with dogs. So like these, and then you could have someone doing, Andy in PA, he'll do like 3 guys teaching them how to fly fish in some ponds. So the events have huge scale and they just get folks motivated and give them that community that we keep talking about.
Now I'd like to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. First, we have Bucked Up. When you're out in the wild, whether you're stalking a trophy buck, casting for that elusive bass, or trekking through rugged terrain, you need more than just grit. You need fuel that matches your passion for the outdoors. That's where Bucked Up energy drinks and supplements come in. Crafted for those who live life on the edge, Bucked Up offers a range of products designed to enhance your performance, endurance, and recovery. From the early morning hunts to the late night fishing trips, Bucked Up has your back. Use promo code WLO20 at checkout to receive 20% off your order. Explore their full range of products by clicking on the link in the description. Next, we have Foretold Coffee Company. Start your adventure with a brew as bold as the journey ahead. Foretold Coffee Company crafts ethically sourced small batch roast for those who find peace in the wild. Founded by Army veteran Joshua Sandoval, each cup reflects resilience, exploration, and the spirit of the outdoors. Whether it's the light Peruvian cocoa, the medium El Salvadoran bourbon, or the dark Mexican honey, each cup is perfect for the base camp mornings or fireside evenings. Subscribe to their monthly coffee club for 10% off and stay fueled for every expedition. To learn more, visit foretoldcoffeeco.com. So you said something earlier that I didn't realize until I started talking with Sean and Raph and Doc and Doc Janes and Stephen Lawn and some other guys that are affiliated with AFI that I've spoken to over the years. And as I've gotten to know them and gotten to hear their stories and hear how they've been able to help others through AFI, I didn't realize as many servicemen and women weren't anglers or hunters. And I guess you just think about it. Okay, well, they know how to handle a weapon. You would think they'd naturally be a hunter, but yeah, I've learned that a lot of them aren't. And, in the case of the men that I know, they were, and just like Dustin, grew up hunting, but there's a lot of people that didn't. And they've, as Steven said one time, he said that he's a late onset hunter is what he likes to call himself, because he didn't grow up hunting and he became, an outdoorsman after he was no longer in the services. So it's, that was news to me, but then Sean and Raph were talking about the dual skills camps. So can y'all go into kind of how the dual skills camps operate and how they're beneficial to those that didn't grow up as hunters or anglers?
Oh yeah. So a dual skills camp, and the easiest way to put it is think of it like a 101 level course in college. It's bare bones. We're gonna bring you together and we're gonna teach you every aspect. The last big dual skills camp I got to participate in was actually hosted right here in Oklahoma. It was an Oklahoma waterfowl event, and it was sponsored by Ray Penny, who was the former owner of G&H Decoys. We all got together at G&H, and day one, it's all essentially classroom, right? So this is how you set a decoy spread. This is how you identify different types of waterfowl, so on and so on. Kind of at the point that it's almost kind of at nauseum, just because it's like, hey, I'm going to shove 30 or 40 years of experience down your throat in 4 or 5 hours. So open up. So there's the learning portion of it. And then there's the practical application portion where, hey, we're going to take you out into the field and we're actually going to fill bag limits. And it's a really unique environment, because it's not like some like other organizations where it's say, hey, we're gonna just take you on this chartered fishing trip or this guided hunt. It's now you're going to be sitting there. You're going to have a mentor with you. You're going to have somebody with a higher skill level than you that's kind of holding your hand, helping you out, but you're going to actually be the one doing the calling. You're going to be, the one identifying the bird on the wing and like, okay, can we take that one? Yes. All right. And then follow on to that. It's kind of back into the classroom type of thing for, meat preparation and stuff like that. So it after we, filled our bag limits, we followed that out back with, all right, this is how you break down a duck. All right. This is how you pluck the feathers, and here's a good way to get some feathers off, drop it in a boiling pot of water for 10, 11 seconds, so on and so forth. Just those little tips and tricks that, guys that have been doing it all their lives can pass on to a new person who may never have done this a day in their life. And for me, that was the thing that really got me the most excited about the Armed Forces Initiative is, as a former submarine sailor, we are all about training, right? Submarine community is all about training. And I like teaching people things. I like helping people acquire new skills and transferring the little bit of knowledge that I've, gained throughout my life. If I can teach that little bit of knowledge to somebody else, then, maybe I've made this world a little bit of a better place.
Well, I think that people with experience pouring into others is a great thing on its own. But whenever it's someone with similar experiences, like you said, that has been through the same kind of suck, even though it's a different flavor, there's going to be a connection there that, I was never in the forces. Jose never was. And there's just things that we won't be able to pour into people like you guys are. I mean, just going through similar things, you're able to pour into others. But not only are you just able to make that connection, but you're able to pour into them with other things in mind, like land stewardship and how to do things properly, in terms of hunting or fishing or whatever the case may be. And it seems like these dual skills camp are like everything from beginning to end, but also in like keeping in mind the stewardship of lands and waters and stuff like that, which I think is very important for anybody that's going to be going in the outdoors, because there's a lot of people that get taught things that, maybe had been taught to them over generations. And, if it was taught by somebody that, grew up in the 30s, it was the Great Depression. Things were way different because I was trying to survive, If someone's looking to learn how to do stuff as a recreation tool, but they're learning from somebody that had to do it to survive, that may not be the best thing to be a steward of the land and or the water. So I feel like having the experience that you guys have and the way that AFI operates to teach these men and women how to recreate responsibly and be a good steward is an amazing thing. And also kind of leads into the main focus of breeding conservationalists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's an amazing diverse crowd, just, for instance, that duck camp that, I was at, I'm sitting in a duck blind with myself, a former sailor. On my right, I got a former Marine, and on my left, I've got two, former Army guys. Our lives are completely completely different from the terms of our experience in the military. But it's that constant. We all took the same oath. We all volunteered because we haven't had a draft in this country since 1973, Cody, if I remember correctly.
That's in the draft.
And so we all believe in what we stood up to volunteer for. And then as participating in this program, we obviously all have a belief that these natural resources that we are we inherit through citizenship in this country, because everybody knows that we are completely different in this country than any other country. We obviously have a vested interest in protecting those resources.
Absolutely. And military members have put more on the line to protect those than, just the general citizen. So, first of all, I didn't even start this with thank both of you for your service. But as a serviceman and woman, going and joining the armed forces in general is putting more on the line than a typical citizen is. And so have you guys found that a lot of military members don't know much about public lands when they get back, or is that something that they knew they were fighting for? Or
no, I don't think so. Two discussion points here. One, I think when we as Americans, when we think of the rights which we have been inherited from Providence or wherever you see it, we don't consider, we think freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, the pursuit of happiness. We don't think about public lands as part of that puzzle, but our public lands very much are part of that puzzle. It was something the founders very intentionally knew about. One of the biggest reasons you got that first wave of colonists from the Netherlands and from England was solely because it was illegal to shoot a deer in England because it was the king's land, and they came here and they needed to hunt for survival. They knew how important that was. Even in a state like Connecticut that was colonized very early and people bought land was preserved, and the right to hunt was, hey, that's your business to do so. So it's something very uniquely American. The concept is uniquely American. No other nations in the world have now done it, but they've done it following us. And even more so, we talk about the champion of it. We always come back to Teddy Roosevelt, another veteran, a veteran of the Spanish-American War. He understands the importance of that. Even going back to President Grant, the general, the man who won the Civil War, he preserved a lot of swaths of land in the West post-Civil War. So these are folks who saw the benefit of it. And I think when we as Americans think of our rights, those things that we're inherited, we often forget about public lands because it's something we take for granted. I'm going to the park in my town. If you might not be a hunter or an angler, but you're going to the park in your town, you don't think that park is something you should be thankful for. You should be, because many nations don't have that. And because it's not in our forehead, many of our counterparts don't see it as something. When you sign the oath, I can tell you, I didn't see it that way. But as I learn more about these issues, I 100% saw it that way. And, serving the day is one of the things I'm proud to, preserve, help defend. So it's something that the future generations have access to. And I can say that from personal experience, this last duck camp, I had 3 guys from my unit who had never hunted before come to our duck camp in New England. And 2 of which are all in it now. They've started turkey hunting by themselves, whole 9. They are hooked. I apologize to one of their wives. Oh, you're the one who took him to duck camp. I'm like, yep. He was in my office today, and we were talking about when's the next time you're going out west? I'm really interested in that. So, and now he knows about it, and now they both know about it. So when issues come up, they're invested, but now they're constantly findings. They're doing that cool thing when you open the book that is hunting and fishing. You're always trying to turn to the next chapter, and now they're doing that on their own, and it's a direct impact we've seen from our camps, and we see that all across the board. But now, you got one of these individuals is higher ranking than me, and the other individual is lower ranking than me, and they went turkey hunting together organically. Not
That's
as
awesome.
hey, but like that. They were just texting each other about like where they're gonna go turkey hunt. So it's creating better bonds between people, and that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
That's what public lands are great. I'm super thankful for them. But what fires me up to go to an AFI event is to seeing the folks, to seeing the guys. Like we're really blessed here in New England. We got a tight group. It's been, it was the initial core 5 of us, and now it's expanded to a bunch of crew. Every time I see those guys, I'm like super excited. Like it makes my day. But even like driving to Wyoming, I met Sean there for the first time. Never had met Sean in person. But like it was my first time meeting Sean. I felt like I had known him for years because of, that the shared military service we have with each other. And then the shared love and appreciation for hunting, fishing, and just the grand beauty of the outdoors. And that's something really cool. And I would be hard pressed to find events out there that do have the same effect on folks. I would be.
Yeah. And healing is something that I think can be taken from that,
Yes.
making these relationships and having something common that you have common interests with somebody else can help a veteran assimilate. I would assume. I mean, I hope Dustin doesn't mind me telling this story, but when I met him at the Black Bear Bonanza, I don't remember what I was talking to Steven about something. I think it had something to do with fatherhood. Cause I think his little one was just born. And me and him were talking, and I just looking past Steven, I see Dustin talking across the table with another gentleman, and the other gentleman was a bigger bearded guy. And from what it looked like he was asking about AFI, and they just start talking across the table. And then out of nowhere, I just see Dustin walk around the table and embrace this man. And it was just, I don't even know what was said, but my eyes started welling up. I was like, that's what this is about, just making these connections.
You can tell the story if you want.
Helping one another. Well, that's my outside perspective, but I don't know that gentleman. I had just met you. I don't know what was said or anything, but it hit me just seeing it from an outside lens. And so I would love for you to tell the story if you're willing.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, we're standing there at Black Bear Bonanza, and the whole purpose of AFI being at an event like that is we're there to spread the good word, right? This is what our program is about. I mean, ultimately the goal is, let's get some new members signed up and that kind of stuff. So the gentleman you're talking about, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He walks up to the table, and my wife always jokes around with me, and she's like, "You look intimidating." And I look in the mirror, I don't see it, right? I'm not a big dude, Everybody thinks I'm like a big person and I look intimidating. I don't feel that way. I'm the nicest guy in the world. This guy walks up to the table, and I'm like, this is a big dude. Like, big dude, probably 8% body fat, maybe. Just ripped dude, and shaved head, big beard, tattoos all over his head. And as we're sitting there talking, I noticed he had one particular tattoo right here on his throat, and it was a set of airborne jump wings. And I asked the question, "Hey, where'd you serve?" And he was talking about his experiences and my experiences, and shift the topic over to hunting, and what do you like to do? What do you like to do? That kind of stuff. And then I asked the question I always do at an AFI event, have you ever heard about the Armed Forces Initiative? Do you know what we do? Do you know why we're here? And no, sir, know nothing about it. So I give him my sales pitch, and he kind of like leans over for a second, looks up, and his eyes had welled up with tears. He had started crying, and like he had punched the table. I'm like, uh-oh, it's about to get real. I'm gonna have to like wrestle this dude or something. I'm gonna get my ass kicked right here in this auditorium in front of like 3,000 people. It's gonna be ugly, and I'm never gonna live it down. And he said, I wish I had known about this program, because he come to find out this particular gentleman had completed like 7 combat deployments between Iraq and
wow.
Afghanistan.
Wow.
All with the 82nd Airborne, excuse me, all with the 82nd Airborne. So the jump wings were legit. And just in talking to him more, that he had to do all of, what I like to call his get right time all by himself. That time you need after coming back from a deployment to decompress, de-stress, and get your mind right. He had to do all of that by himself. He didn't have a support group like the Armed Forces Initiative to lean on. And, he went on further to tell, he said, some days were really hard. Some days it would have just been easier to put the gun in my mouth, but I didn't do that. So, it was a pretty emotional event. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it stayed with me the entire day, so much so that like when I left that event and I was driving home, I had to drive to Oklahoma City that night for a wedding. But as I was driving there, I actually I picked up the phone. I had to call both Sean and Raph and tell them about it. I'm like, at that point, guys, like, I don't care if I sell another t-shirt here. I don't care if I, sign up another new member, whatever. Like, I've reached this person. He now has our contact info. He can get a hold of us. He can get a hold of me. He can get a hold of Steven there in Arkansas. He's now in the network. So we can help this person if he needs our help. So yeah, that was that whole thing. It's crazy. I literally think about that about once a week.
Yeah.
Like to this
Wow.
day, almost a year
Very
later.
powerful moment from the outside looking in. It was powerful for sure. So, yeah.
And that's the thing, though, is like, I think a lot of folks don't have what Dustin was talking about. They don't have that support system. And like for us, we're dudes, okay? Like it's very against the culture. I like to think the culture's slowly changing. I think it is. To talk about that mental health stuff. I won't go into a ton of details, but my wife and I we've had a pretty fucking rough year. And I can tell you the first people who called me were Dustin and Raph and other Dustin. And I've had long life talks with them about this thing. And that's healing because like everybody else, there's some stuff that people like, oh, I know what you're going through. But so my colleagues here have been through it too. And to have those folks to talk to that like aren't in your cert, like you don't see them, like it's just different. I can't explain. I wish I could. I wish I could put it in paper. Trust me, I am a writer. I have tried to put this to pen more this experience that is these guys and gals. We had some gals too. Putting that, it's just hard to put in the healing effect these people and being in these environments have. One quick story is we're really lucky in New England that we have a Gold Star sister who's part of our core group, and seeing her out and about with the guys, and she straight up told me, she goes, it was really nice just to be out here because, it was therapeutic for her even to be out there. She's cooler than all of us. She has like 3 different dogs she brings every time, and her dogs are great. But like just from, those personal life things that don't have to do anything about hunting, like nothing about hunting and fishing at all, to just like the experience. I wish I could put it in words. I really do. I really do. I'm thankful for each of these folks I've met through it, and I'm deeply thankful for it. And again, hard pressed to find another organization that does that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we're here, hopefully to spread the word and help y'all grow because, like I said, I've seen it firsthand on how powerful it can be. And that's just one instance. And I'm sure you guys have a plethora of stories you could tell on how it's been beneficial. And I can't even imagine, the conversations that are had in a duck blind or, when you're out grilling, the day's harvest, just all the conversations that can be had at these skills camps and just the amount of, I guess, therapy that could be had at these events, like can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's cool. It's the people, like, another just I like talking about this because we often get sucked into the public land side is very important. We all think
Mhm.
we forget this. Like, we can have conversations with the folks that we do this with that we can't like that like my wife is immensely lovely. She's my best friend. She's my partner, but she doesn't sometimes our spouses don't understand our military experience.
Yeah.
But one of my guys in New England, he was in this shit overseas and he has some pretty serious experiences and like he hadn't talked about it in years because he's like, I try to talk about it, but I don't want to burden my family with that, you know? And being able to talk about that with people who, yes, I have not deployed to a combat environment, but like I train my guys every day to go and do that job. So I understand what he's talking about and just I'm never going to judge him. And I think folks need that more. Is like there's that fear about talking to people about stuff and you could have those conversations driving 2 hours to Boston in rush hour traffic to cook at a PHA event with your buddy. You can.
Yeah.
You can have those conversations when Raf doesn't read the tide charts right and gets you stuck on a salt marsh for like 3 hours when you're supposed to be home at the duck blind. The
Way to
naval
throw him under the
officer,
bus.
the naval officer didn't read the tide charts.
And they let him drive a submarine.
Yeah, so the naval trained officer, the man who literally could drive a nuclear powered multi-billion-dollar. And so we're duck hunting. This was 2 years ago. Us, our buddy Kev, who's my New Hampshire liaison, we're like part of the original 3 from the New England crew. And we like that day of duck camp, we're like, we're going to go out together. We're going to go all the way out to the end of the marsh and try to get some honkers out there. And we didn't shoot anything. I think I slept, honestly, for most of the day in my little layup line. Absolutely nothing. Kevin fell in the wall in the great marsh out there. They used to use it for farming. So they dug these huge trenches and you don't know where they are. And Kev just went all the way in and was being held up by goose decoys that he was setting in this pond. So like Raph had to run to the boat. Raph's not a big guy, so it took him a little bit to get there, get the oar, come back, and we had to like pull him in. So Kev's now, thankfully, he didn't get flooded out,
Yeah.
So we finished and then we walked back to the boat because Raph's like, I'm going to move the boat. We're like, all right, cool. And the boat's like on sand. Like there's only the water around it. And it's like 4:30 in January. It's getting dark and it's getting cold. We had our layers on, but we had to wait like another 2.5 hours, and then we're going back pitch black. Like pitch black. It's like a wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is the song that was playing in my head. I'm like, we're not gonna make this. My wife's gonna kill me. She's gonna bring me back to life and kill me if we don't make it back. Raph got us home safe. But like you don't get those like I'm sorry, you're not gonna get that experience joining the cycling group,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, I mean, he has the tools that should have made that not happen, but it didn't. So those are the tools.
You literally can look at side charts on the internet.
Yeah. So, So are there any barriers? So obviously you mentioned earlier that y'all have skills, obviously, that could aid in being successful in, fishing, hunting, any type of outdoor recreation. Are there any barriers that the typical veteran faces, and how does AFI help with that?
I think the biggest barrier that I have seen out of participants in our events so far is knowledge. Let's just use a duck camp as an example, right? We all know that we can go and buy a $300 shotgun or a $3,000 shotgun. And we can go out and we can hunt birds and we can be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can buy a really cheap set of waders. We can buy a really expensive set of waders. And it's just a matter of how much suck are you willing to put up with,
Yeah.
Maybe these really expensive waders will keep you a little bit warmer, but if you layer up, you can get away with the cheap ones. So it's in my experience, it's not gear, right? It's not gear. It's not necessarily land to hunt on. depending on where you live, obviously, some places it is land, other places it is not. But my thing, or my personal opinion, is it's knowledge. It's having that core base set of skills, and like Cody was saying earlier, you know, we're all dudes, and I'm the worst person in the world. I hate to admit that I don't know something. You know, I was always taught fake it till you make it, right? Um, but not knowing how to use a duck call, you know, the only thing worse than having no duck call is a bad duck call, right? You're not gonna attract any ducks in if you don't have a good sound. But you know, the basics of knowledge, you know, how to set decoys, how to properly set up a blind, how to, you know, call in ducks, how to prepare your harvest after you're done. You know, that's something that is it's not taught in school anymore like it used to be. There's less hunters now than you know, than there used to be. Obviously, you know, we're not hunting for sustainment like my grandparents used to. You can go look at a video on YouTube, but I mean, that's just watching a video, right?
So much info out there, and we all know, and not all of it is good information. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so to answer your question though, Russell, I honestly, I think it's just knowledge, and that's kind of where we come in. And we have subject matter experts that have been doing it for years, that are, you know, have made themselves available. And, you know, caveat to that, I don't know if Sean and Raphael talked about it when you had them on your show, but we're all volunteers. You know, I do not get paid a single dime to, you know, do what I do. Cody doesn't get paid anything. There is no paid employees on the AFI National Board. We are all volunteers. Everybody that comes out to our events, the liaisons, the leaders, the volunteers that help mentor, nobody's paid. So, and we have these subject matter experts that are coming out there and giving away their time and their skills and their knowledge to this community for absolutely free. So we're trying to bridge that knowledge gap and get the hardest barrier crossed. Because once you have the knowledge, now I just need to go buy the gear, and you're off on your own.
Right. That's amazing. And once they have the knowledge, then they have the confidence to go out and do it. The more that they go and do it, the more they care about it. The more they care about it, the more they're going to protect it. So
Absolutely,
kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, and they got the group of buddies now to go and do it with.
Yep.
Which is cool.
I guess what would be the best way for folks who, like, for example, I have a brother who's in the military. I have a friend who just came back maybe about a year ago. He loves the outdoors. I'm pretty sure I've told him about you guys from our previous episode, but I don't know if he's reached out. I don't know if I don't know. But I guess, like, how could people, I guess, find out about you guys, and I guess be encouraged about being like open to the idea of like checking you guys out and getting more involved and things like that. Like how does that work? Does Texas have like a representative that, you know, my buddy could like reach out to or something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if you give me your buddy's name and email address, I'll reach out to him personally.
Okay. Yeah, I'll shoot him a text and see if that's okay. I think it'd be awesome.
But for the average Joe and the average Joe or Jill out there, we have a state, in any state that we have a presence, then we have a state liaison. If you go on the BHA website, it's got a list of all those liaisons in their email, or you can reach out to any of the national board members. We're on Instagram as BHA_AFI. We'll make sure you guys did all these links. And, you know, shoot us a message. Someone's going to answer it. Find us on our own social media, and, you know, someone's going to answer it. We will get you in contact. And then if we don't have a representative in that state, we'll get you to an event somewhere. We'll put you in touch with the states around you. And then maybe down the road, like, hey, maybe you come to one of these camps and you're from, let's just made up state, West Connecticut. And you know, there's no chapter in West Connecticut. And you're like, after going to an event in Massachusetts, I think I want to do this. We train people up to be state liaisons and go forth and conquer there. So there's
Nice.
plenty of opportunities to get involved. And our skills are all our camps. There's the only camps that we usually screen folks to go to is like a priority landscape event. That's major. Like when we sent folks up to Alaska, they did over a DIY caribou hunt. You got to do a bit of screening there. There needs to be a bit of experience. Or when we went to Wyoming, there had to be a bit of experience in the field. But those are
Gotcha.
special events. But all besides that, all our events are super easy to get into. Like I said, we took 3 guys who had never like hunted ever, and we put them through 4 days of hunting, you know, in all the little marshes of Rhode Island, you know, 12-hour days, getting up at 3 to be on the launch at 4, and then coming back and cooking. And they're now all hooked. So we
Heck yeah.
can train anybody.
Hey.
That's awesome.
Well, and then not so much a question, but more of a comment. You know, just like Russell mentioned earlier, you know, thank you guys for your service, and also thank y'all for what you're doing with the veterans and BHA and our public lands. I think it's incredible work, and really, really glad to have guys in an organization like who y'all represent around to do what y'all do.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this episode is going to be airing right before Veterans Day. So what is one call to action that our listeners can take to support AFI?
That's a good one. Do you want one from each of us?
Yeah, that would be awesome. The more the merrier.
Hey, get involved. If you have a little bit of like hesitation, get over that like take the chance, come to an event, shoot an email, volunteer to help leads, like volunteer to help find someone put on an event, get involved. Because I can promise you, if you are hesitating right now, like, I don't know if I want to get involved, I don't have the time. Even if you just want to come to one camp and you're hesitating about like, hey, like, I don't want to be a fool of myself because I don't know anything. We don't care. We just want to be with our folks, experience the outdoors together, and teach you guys stuff. And we learn stuff from y'all too. So just take the leap, take the jump, and come to an event. Get involved, because you're not going to look back in 5 years and be like, oh, I still haven't learned how to fly fish. Oh, I still haven't learned how to whitetail deer hunt. You're going to look back and be like, man, I'm so glad I did that. And on the benefit, I've been some of the best friends I have in my life now. So definitely just take the leap, shoot us a message, come to an event. We'll be glad to have anybody.
So just like Cody always does, he always steals my thunder.
I know.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. I'm going to shoot from the hip on this one. So, whether if you're listening to this, if you're a veteran, or what I like to call, if you're a veteran adjacent, you know, military adjacent, whether your dad served, your mom served, little brother, big sister, aunts, cousins, twice removed, whatever, take the time to check on them. Shoot them a text. Hey, how you doing? Thinking about you. You know, everything okay? Let's get together and have a beer sometime. Because you never know. That text, it maybe they're having a bad day, and you brighten their day up. Who knows? Or maybe they're in a bad spot, and hearing from you maybe change their whole outlook on the day. Who knows? If you have any members in your family or any of your friends that you think that the Armed Forces Initiative program would be a good place for, tell them about us. You know, spread the word. You know, send them the link to our website. Send them, you know, a link to one of our emails. Have them reach out and get in touch. You know, we want to have new people, fresh faces coming in to the program. You know, we want to encourage new membership and meet and, you know, be around new individuals.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure that I put all the links in the description as well. That way, if you're watching this and you do want to be involved or know somebody that you think could benefit from it, just go to the description. I'll have links to the websites, Instagrams, and stuff like that as well. So for those of y'all that made it to the end, we really appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch y'all next time.
This has been Wildlife Outdoors. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook at Wildlife Outdoors and on Instagram at wild.life.outdoors. Let's go live life on the wild side.